Anti-LGBTQ parents now want deprogrammers to turn their estranged kids conservative.
This one is really disturbing, and it kind of goes right back to, one of the pieces that we had earlier in talking about, making sure that people are re-educated. Anti-LGBTQ plus parents are moving in a way that basically says they want to deprogram or de-indoctrinate their kids as they, go to high schools and are then indoctrinated with gender and race ideology. These parents look at progressive thinking as being in a cult. And so what they want is a deprogrammer to help get their children moved back into a more realistic mindset. The mothers were inspired by an article from the New York Post based upon Annabella Rockwell, a pharmaceutical fortune heiress, a right-wing activist, and a Mount Holyoke alumna who claimed that her mother hired a $300 a day deprogrammer to turn her conservative after college. Beth Pinsky is 54 years old, and neither her son nor daughter will speak to her. Beth Pinsky says, I saw Annabella's story and my life turned upside down. I realized I wasn't alone, and I saw what happened to her as similar to what I think happened to my kids. I never even considered trying to find a deprogrammer. I didn't know they existed, but I think it's too late for me and my kids. They won't even talk to me. Another mother named Dorothy said, reading about Annabella was the first time I connected the dots to everything that had happened with my daughter. She had what she called an awakening and became very angry at me and her father. It was a big personality change. We are conservatives, so our political views became a huge problem. We were not allowed to visit her on campus. She went on a mission to convert her brother against us. She told him that he should be against us because we're conservatives and that we all should be against men. Now, these two mothers are driving this narrative that kids who are indoctrinated in a progressive setting, such as a school, they need to be deprogrammed. And according to one source, deprogramming is something that is making quite a large influence. 36-year-old Kay Yang was once a trans and gay rights activist who used they, them pronouns, but has since deprogrammed herself. She said she is extremely busy these days as a full-time deprogrammer. The website that Yang has claims to be exposing the trans agenda. There's a war for our bodies and minds, and it's all connected. As we see all of these things continue to grow, we're going to see them merge into conversion therapy. We're going to see them merge into, state agencies in how they deal with trans kids or gay kids, lesbian kids, or maybe even just allies who want to help their fellow students out. This is scary shit right here. This is the scariest fucking story I think we've reported on. I mean, the idea of taking books out of a school to prevent exposure to propaganda is censorship.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of we're going to print material that, clearly outlines what is expected of people is propaganda instead of flipping it around, instead of saying, we want people to be able to make a decision for themselves, instead of recognizing the ability that someone has of learning and discovering and exploring, they want to say, no, we want it all in one little line. And that right there is a hallmark. That is a trademark symptom of what the communists did. It's what the Bolsheviks did in Russia after the formation of the Soviet Union. It is very indicative of re-education camps. It is very indicative of political officers stationed within army units. It is very indicative of political officers being established in places of education so that every bit of curriculum is screened through this official who make sure that the party line is towed. And the fact that we have an entire side of our country who has said very loudly, well, we hate them Soviets, we don't like the communists, and yet they are falling in line with their playbook step by step, tells us they don't want to be educated, they don't want to learn, they don't want to have their minds broadened, but they want it spoon-fed to them in the most grandiose, fear creating way so that they don't have to think and they get to act upon their more base instincts against people they do not like.